Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. We are live on some places: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. Interestingly, when all people do on Twitch is play games. I say all, it's very important. I play games all the time. I was in a live event on Sunday, final of Bake Off. I can't tell you anything. I'm under a non-disclosure statement, and so I should be. But we were about 3 hours after we were meant to go in. So live TV, live recordings, live events, they often have glitches, and we had a 5-minute glitch. And I'm just a bit concerned, but I've said to the person I need to, really all I need to say to them. I'm going to give you some details to put in the chat. My wonderful co-moderators, please do invite anyone on Clubhouse that's live. We are live lots of other places. Hello to those that are joining us on the social media platforms elsewhere. I can see you. You can message in the chat if you want to, and I will see if I can do 3 things at once. You never know. I might be able to. I am a fantastic human becoming. You never know, I might be able to do that. So, this morning's room is entitled Every Soul Has a Journey. Actually, ahead of that title on my notes is The Road to Damascus. And there's a reason for that. Lots of reasons. But if you'd been in Magical Manifestation, or if you'd had an invite, if you didn't get an invite, then you weren't invited. But if you did get an invite, you were. Now, you will be able to see and hear and experience some of that today. But it is within the Magical Manifestation .me community. If you want to go there, it's obviously www.magicalmanifestation.me. And that footage will be uploaded into the community this week. And the community are very excited. And I want to say thank you to those that were there, those that asked questions, and those that met Soul, because they did. Now that's SAUL, soul work. We did some soul work. And it brought me to think about my own soul. And I know I'm doing a play on words, but it really is the privilege of my lifetime to become who I truly am. And I didn't say that. It was Carl Jung. It was Jungian theory. So please don't imagine that I am as fantabulous as Carl Jung, because clearly I'm not. Every journey has a soul, and on Saturday, magicalmanifestation.me went on a soul journey with Soul, who is channeled through one of my clients called Bill. Now, Bill explains that Soul is not of Bill, it's through Bill. They are through Bill. And I may be able to play you just a moment of it. But anyway, first of all, good morning and welcome. It is Monday, the 6th of July, and we're already more than halfway through the year. And I do have some news for you. It's not great news, but it's okay. Unfortunately, or fortunately, last Wednesday, I believe, last Wednesday, Julian Goodwin, Jew, as we know him here, passed away. And he's gone on his soul journey, right? To the other side. And I believe that if you love a soul and they move through the door to the other side, that energy comes with you here. So I believe that Jew, whose Rhinosaur that he made with us in Inclusion, which of course is where this house used to be until they amalgamated everything into one, and it just became easier to be in MJ's house. But I am Inclusion at the end of the day. And by the way, I'm deaf in one ear today, so be mindful. If I'm shouting, then I apologise. I've got a doctor's appointment later because I had some challenges last week. Very interesting to be silent at one side. If anyone sits at my right side at the moment, I can't hear anything. And interestingly, when I had my near-death experience, the voice I heard was into my left ear. So good morning and welcome. And today I'd like to invite you on a journey with you, with me, with your soul, and with Bill. Well, actually, soul, S-A-U-L, through Bill. You don't really require a passport to come on this journey because it's not measured in miles, but it's a journey that's measured in moments. Moments that stop us in our tracks. Moments that challenge everything we thought we knew. Maybe moments that quietly ask us, who are you becoming? That to me is a real soul journey. 2 souls on Saturday, S-A-U-L, and my soul and Bill's soul. But really, we all had one question. I'm also talking about soul of Tarsus. So that's 3 souls. He was S-A-U-L. Your soul. But is that not one? Look, Saul of Tarsus was dramatically transformed on the road to Damascus. And that story, if you don't know it, has inspired people for nearly 2,000 years. That's some gig when a story is still impacting 2,000 years after it's spoken. Maybe today's story will resonate with humans 2,000 years from now. The second soul work, where my friend Bill, I can't say his name, I won't say his surname, it's Mina Opoulos, there we are, shares a message that he believes, and so do I now, comes through an entity called soul. You can find his work at saulwork.com and under Facebook under Soul Work. But today isn't about persuading anyone to believe in channeling. We believe what we believe. We know what we know. We see what we know, and we experience what we experience. And everyone's experience is individual. It's about being curious today. Why? Well, because curiosity is where all learning begins. It's the bedrock of learning. And whether you see channeling as a spiritual experience, a conversation with a higher consciousness, a psychological process, as Carl Jung might say, or simply an interesting exploration, the invitation is the same for all of us. In those moments when we are stopped in our tracks, to listen, to reflect, to question what we're listening to and reflecting upon, and then to think. So listen, reflect, question, and then think. It was Socrates that reminded us, again, a gig from a long time ago that still resonates today. Oh, how I hope that the things I say will be spoken about in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 million years. The unexamined life, said Socrates, is not worth living. We'll say that again. The unexamined life, said Socrates, is not worth living. So Saul, Saul, before Damascus, well, I think you know who he was after that, right? And anyone that knows, type it in the chat and I'll see if after 11:18 you knew. I'll give you a moment. Before he became the next version of himself, he was intelligent, he was highly educated, he was passionate indeed, and interestingly, he was certain. Totally certain. 100%. Absolutely thought he was defending truth. Saul, before Paul, believed he was doing the right thing. How many of us, and I hold my hand up to this, and you should, if you're saying to the universe that you agree, how many of us have ever been absolutely convinced we were right? 100%, unequivocally, absolutely, completely, totally, we were right. Only to discover later that life had something much bigger to teach us. So, for Saul, there came the road to Damascus. A flash of light, a voice, and 3 days without sight. Imagine that. 3 days without being able to see a thing. There won't be a hospital or an MRI scan or a brain scan to find out what's going on. Just not seeing the outside world. And maybe that might have been so he could finally see the inside one. Now, Saul became Paul and he only had 3 days of total blindness. But when his sight returned, his purpose had changed. His identity had changed because indeed, his future had changed. Look up the story if you don't know it. There's even a film. I don't believe that transformation arrives gently. In fact, rarely it does. And as a psychotherapist and a social worker and in training and a Senko, I've learned something. And in counseling, and in coaching, and in mentoring. Transformation rarely sends us an email first, does it? It usually arrives disguised as disruption. A diagnosis. I think we've all had one. A redundancy. I think we've all had one. A divorce. I've had two. An unexpected opportunity or the loss of someone we love, like you. A child being born. I'm a grandma to a kitten. Dana, my son's girlfriend, has a kitten called Bobby. And I said to her, I'm his nonna. A conversation we weren't expecting. The universe or life or whatever you want to call it, Gaia, God, greater good, whatever you prefer, has a remarkable way of interrupting us just enough to invite us somewhere new. Joseph Campbell called this the hero's journey. It's familiar to everyone, I'm sure, but I will reiterate, every hero leaves the familiar. She, he, they face uncertainty. They learn and fail and get back up and then return home transformed. Perhaps that's exactly what Saul, S-A-U-L, experienced. Perhaps it's what we've, all of us here today, and those listening on replay, and those in the chat, and those in the comments, and I'm going to read those comments in a minute, experience, right? Hey. Won't be long. Nice to see you, Katie. So, yeah, perhaps it's what we all experience. I certainly do. Transformation. What is a soul journey? Well, people often imagine that a soul journey is something mystical, magical, manifestating. And, that's why we have the magicalmanifestation.me. It's why soulwork.com works. It's why it's there. The whole floating above the clouds and airy fairy angels, lazy stuff. But I think it is much closer to home. A soul journey is every decision that brings us closer to our whole authentic showing up self, in my opinion. It's every act of forgiveness. And I have some acts of forgiveness this week, because when people pass, families, well, they're difficult, aren't they? Every difficult conversation we have, and I've had a few of those this week as well, and last, every apology, every moment that we choose courage instead of comfort. Again, it's been the nature of my week. Every time we stop pretending, every time we stop performing, suspending the out-of-date persona, stop. Every time we allow ourselves to simply be. And I think that can be a challenge for all of us, to simply be. So why are we talking about channeling? Well, apart from the fact I experienced it on Saturday, some people immediately dismiss it, right? Other people embrace it completely and say, of course, something can channel through somebody. We're a vessel, as God said, a vessel of his love. I prefer another approach to all of those. Curiosity. History is full of people who experienced inspiration in an unusual way, right? Artists, Van Gogh, scientists, Ada Lovelace, mystics, of which there are a bazillion. Some of them are my relatives. Inventors, fantastic. You can think of lots and lots of inventors, can't you? Nikola Tesla spoke about about ideas arriving almost fully formed. They just popped there, the whole of them. Carl Jung explored the collective unconsciousness, and William James studied those mystical experiences. You'll see behind me on the top shelf there, that is my altar. Whether these experiences come from beyond, from aliens, from entities, from God, or whether they are from deeply within us, our entity, our soul in this soul carrier, they're worth exploring, I think, with some humility. Bill's work with soul, SAUL, invites us and invited me and my audience members into that conversation, asking for questions. Not because I think we should replace critical thinking. Dear Lord, I'm a trainee social worker. I must remain critical, but to expand it, emancipate us maybe from the lie that we've been told. Einstein said, the important thing is not to stop questioning. So I question both my journey, other people's journeys, what our experience is, how we are affected. Many of you know pieces of my journey, of my story. I mean, well, I'm a person of determination. I'm disabled in the UK, so disability and near death and learning to live differently, losing some abilities while I find my purpose, training forever because nobody thought I'd go to university, training as a social worker, supporting currently hundreds of disabled people, building organizations and heading up third sector organizations to bring that transformational aspect in, and writing and teaching and mentoring and coaching and speaking and, have I said therapy? If someone had shown me this chapter 30 years ago, I'd have never, ever believed it. But here I am. That life didn't get easier. It's not because life got easier that I'm here. It's because I kept saying yes to growth every day. Sometimes reluctantly, sometimes, frankly, kicking and screaming into the ether, but always, always, always learning. Perhaps we all have a Damascus Road. Maybe yours isn't dramatic. Maybe it wasn't a flash of light. Maybe you didn't go blind for 3 days. Maybe it was sitting quietly after everyone had gone to bed. Maybe it was hearing one sentence that changed everything. Maybe it was becoming ill or falling in love. Maybe, just maybe, it was finally realizing you were, are, will always be enough. Those moments matter. They're sacred. Whether you call them psychology or spirituality or grace or synchronicity or simply life, it really doesn't matter. Over the coming week and on live, on social media and going forward there, I have been honoured that Bill has arranged for us to share some clips from Soul. We'll listen together. We'll reflect together. Not because I'm asking anyone to accept every word as truth, because sometimes it's a bit beyond the pale for people to accept. Excuse me, I need a drink. To accept and reflect and stretch their imagination in that conversation. But good conversations do stretch us. It's why we shouldn't always agree, but we should disagree and remain friends. They help us ask better questions. And I think that's key to coaching, to mentoring, to therapy, to social work, to communication. Because one sentence arrives at exactly the same moment, the right message, for the right journey, for the right purpose, at exactly the right time. So I've got 3 questions for you and I to reflect on today. And as you leave this room, I'd like you to wish you a great journey. But these are the questions. And I've had to ask myself this weekend the same questions. Where in my life am I resisting change? Where are you resisting the change? Where was I resisting the change? Well, I need more sleep, and I'm resisting that change, and I've got to sort it out because I've got a virus, and I'm not any younger. I was not 50 when I came on Clubhouse. I'm halfway through my 50s now, and I'm chronically sick and disabled. I'm life limited. So I have to know that rest is key. And my middle one said to me yesterday, Mama, I'm going to leave you. You come here. You sparkle, sprinkle, sparkly on everything. You lift my energy, and then you go, and congratulations, and you keep going with that, never stopping. As if those words had come out of their mouth on a phone call that I hadn't mentioned really where I'm resisting change. But I am. And I know I am. So what belief about myself is ready to be transformed? Well, the belief that I should never stop. The belief that stopping is dangerous. The belief that running is the way to get where I'm going. Well, it isn't. I can't even walk, never mind run. But stopping. And if I truly trusted my deepest wisdom, which I do, the question is, what would I do next? The story of Soul, and I'm going to play you just a few moments from the Soul Journey on Saturday, and you can be transformed. You can join the Magical Manifestation.me community, and seriously, it's a community growing of practice through practice. It's about transformation. It's about the possibility that nobody is fixed. Nobody is finished, thank the Lord. And nobody is beyond redemption. As the poet T.S. Eliot, quite a favourite of mine amongst the poets, said, we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Perhaps that's the soul journey. Not becoming somebody else, but finally becoming the person you've always been, beneath the fear, beneath the labels, beneath the expectations, and beneath the noise. So thank you for spending time with me this week. I'm going to see if I can play just a moment of soul from Saturday. And we will continue with this soul journey because, well, I don't really have a choice. Let's see if this will play. Who knows? Sometimes these beings don't like to be transmitted out of context. But here we go.
Could give me a question. I can then attempt a reply.
Okay, this individual, I can tell you about them. They were born in this body, and it's like mine. They don't walk around. They roll around, right? It's just how they roll. But in their community, in many communities, it's seen as a deficit. It's seen as being something wrong. How do they love themselves when they don't feel like they're complete?
Allow me to answer this from an energetic, non-worldly perspective. You are all gods. Like Buddhism that says you never die. You are just drops rising from the sea of all that is. They could give me a question. I can then.
We're all drops rising. We're all gods. We're all souls on a journey. Next week, I'm going to edit the footage this week, and next week we're going to hear directly from Soul through Bill's recordings, and we'll explore the ideas that Soul invites us to consider because they were profound. And as you can hear from the recording, I was incredibly moved, and my audience guests told me afterwards it was fantastic, and I've got a tear in my eye right now. I wish you could have heard. But it's okay, because you can hear that now. We'll explore it with open minds and compassion and hearts and the courage to keep growing. I'm not judging. I'm not suggesting anybody's right or anybody's wrong. But I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing. And I feel that energy. I also know that the questions and the answers that came in the chat, Soul already knew the questions, and throughout the session said, would your audience like to ask me so and so and so and so? And I was like, it's in the chat, which Soul couldn't see. Neither could Bill. Bill's eyes were closed the entire time. So until then, and after the next 20 minutes, because I'm going to talk to James and Alexia for a little while, keep asking those questions. Keep asking. Keep listening deeply to yourself. Remember, every road can become your road to Damascus if you are willing to let it change you. But we all have a choice. And we all have a chance to listen or not listen, and we all have the option not to do that. We do. We all have that option. We all have the option to keep on regardless, doing what we're doing. And at the end of today, I'm going to play a piece of music that's not yet been released on Spotify, but my album, if you look for MJ Late on Spotify, Apple Music, and about 26 different platforms, you'll find some incredible pieces there, which literally, as much as I say they're incredible, they are healing, and they've healed me, and they've opened me to some amazing experiences and to soul work, to my soul's journey, to healing through the sound and the words and the feelings and the sense of becoming. And those words, like I said, hopefully mine will resonate for many, many years to come, are already uploaded and trademarked and copyrighted and mine, and one day maybe a producing company will pick one up and say, we want to produce it, and they will be able to, but they will have to pay me dearly. And so it should be, because those words were written from my heart, from my soul, through my experience. And the road to Damascus is that every soul has a journey. We shouldn't need to go blind for 3 days or deaf in one ear to really listen to what's being said by whomever we say that is, our inner soul, our inner being, our God, our friends, our intuition, whatever that is. So I'm going to say good morning, and I hope you feel that you've been on a journey today. Please listen to the replays. Please go back over this. Please have a look at, Saul Paul's Road to Damascus. Watch the film, read the story in the Bible, have a look at soulwork.com and connect with Bill. He is willing to have an initial session with anyone to invite them to get to know soul. He's not here about money, he's here about the conversation. He's here about the journey that you're all on, and the journey that I'm all on. And I want to be grateful to James and Alexia this morning for bearing with me for 6 minutes while, for some reason, we had some unexpected music hanging in the background somewhere, and I couldn't discover where it was coming from. And I wondered whether Soul was angry that I was going to be transmitting. And I said, look, if you don't want me to transmit, fine, just don't upload onto the site. I won't be offended. But as you can see, we were fortunate enough to hear just a snippet. And I think that's enough outside of the community, because it's Bill's gig. It's our magical manifestation community's safety. They're good. They're keeping things safe and secure. We sign an agreement that says, what happens in there stays in there. So welcome, by the way, again to Elle. And with 15 minutes, so 5 minutes each, and for 5 minutes for me to conclude this current event. James, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, MJ. I did get to write the first question down. For some reason, the speaker on this phone is all up and down at the moment, so I did miss the other two. I've got down, wrote 2 and 3 down in different coloured pens, but words after it. But I'm a bit mellow this morning because what you've brought my attention to is the passing of a great friend. I had some challenging journeys on the bicycle to get to Jew, but that gave Jew some entertainment when I arrived. So it was always great to visit Jew in his that holding centre that he was living in. That nursing home it was, but we referred to it as other things because we've certainly stayed in some. Not as good as this hotel I'm staying at, but he's stayed in some pretty dodgy, with lacking room service. And it's funny when you're in a care home, and just depending on who's on shift dictates what kind of care you're getting, and that's still disappointing for a lot of other people that live in care homes this very day. But me and Jew, we did have some great conversations there, and we did have some interesting adventures at different places in Cardiff and Cardiff a couple of times, I remember, and then Birmingham. It was he's a beautiful man, he really was, and certainly he did some challenges, but he pushed through with that. He really did, and that's what inspired me so much about you. Really. It's beautiful to know the gentleman. It really was. So yeah, I'm not going to die down and dwelling on this or that. It's everyone's journey. Everyone has a unique journey, and it's how you move through that makes you. You might crack a few eggs, maybe a few cups of sauces, and other things en route, and And yeah, Julian, you just inspired me because I've worked in care and I worked really hard when I worked in care, but worked that hard that I only had that career for 3 years, thank goodness, because burnout in care as well. So I'm now giving it the other side is the workers who work the hardest. I mean, anyone who does it with the vocation of doing it, they go through some real ups and downs, and they're the real heroes in care. But a lot of people get burnt out with it because of what they see. So I'm not going to call anyone at that nursing home. It was what it was. Maybe it was a leadership issue, perhaps. Just saying. As I've definitely experienced that. But again, I'm not going to dwell on that because I think having spotted leadership issues, I know that the exit route when leadership is bad at certain places is definitely the right route. And it's nice when you can compose the right words or get gifted the right words to compose them, to inspire them to different situations that lead me into better situations. But again, I'm not going to dwell on how you do your words, if you like poetry or if you like different other types of oration or public speaking. But yeah, I know I've changed a lot of things at the beginning of the year. I'm quite pleased with it, although my technical skills are still not great digitally. I have wiped out a lot of messaging providers on this damned blasted phone, and it would seem that quite a lot of Meta's messaging devices are not working anymore. So I've either got to make a decision: do I just keep one going, or do I reinstigate them all? Because I know when I reinstigate them all, I'm giving them a new phone number, and I think, do I really want to be wasting my valuable resources of time when I know I've got one that I rely upon now? And I love speaking here on Clubhouse this morning, but I have got to change a few things. And one of the big ones I'm working on at the moment is getting consistency with the green smoothie. It's still not thingy because we're getting another week of hot weather, and I've not figured out a great way of overnight storing of the green smoothie in this place. I'm not allowed cooking equipment, which is absolutely right because it would be a fire risk. But I'm going to see if we can maybe get if they can approve me getting a little fridge in here. I have one available, and I know that it's got one of them safety electrician things on it, and I can't think what they're called off the top of my head.
Hey, listen, let me just button in because it's a pack testing. But the thing is, in a Premier Inn Plus, they have fridges. So if I were you, I would go to your doctor. I'd get a little letter that says, this gentleman needs a fridge for medical purposes. And you do. Anybody over a BMI of 30 has a medical need to serve themselves properly. So get to your doctor, ask for that, and then ask the place, if it's a Premier, to put one of their own fridges in, which are in the Premier Plus rooms. So they do have rooms with it.
I have an appointment tomorrow with my doctor anyway, and it's a lovely review, so that will facilitate that. Thanks for that interjection. And it certainly is one of the biggest changes I've got to work upon. I'm getting it right in quite a few areas now, thanks to having this little dartboard, magnificent 7 in front of me. I'm seeing I'm getting the right areas. So I know I've always worked hard on my rest, my sleep. Thankfully, having the CPAP machine, I can document it. So it is just a shade under 8 hours at the moment. I usually have it the other side, so hopefully tonight that will pick up. I'm sure it will.
You're robbing time. It's 9 minutes and there's an Alexia to go yet, so.
Great. Question 2, MJ, please.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we'll ask Alexia to see if she remembers, and then I'll have a look while she's talking, and then I'll round up And when I round up, no doubt you'll get the questions. Yeah? Is that a good idea?
Fabulous.
All right. Alexia, my love. I'm sorry to tell you about you, but it is what it is, right?
Let's remember one thing that Jew did for everybody to have a safe life. He served this country to keep it safe. So we can argue the point of what we have and what we do. He never really talked about that. But if we didn't have people who had the courage to do that, we wouldn't have the choices we have today to say we don't like something, we don't want to do something. So one point that came to my mind was, I think it was when we were at the bike ride, and I went to have a hug with him. His wheelchair went, my parents went, and it was like a comedy of errors because I was nearly in his lap. But he had such a great sense of humour. So he's gone to a place of peace and harmony, and yes, he did know what you were doing yesterday, and I'm sorry I wasn't there, MJ.
No.
But I was having real challenges with my health, and I did the best thing I could do, which was actually rest, although I still did 2 hours rubbish collecting Sunday. It is still improving, but there are problems. And a lot of our problems are self-made. And I'm not going to tell you what yours is, because you're doing exactly what I did and overdoing it. I got to a point now where I can't do that, or I will end up in care. And exactly, yes, I was a carer. I have worked in the National Housing. Yes, it burnt me out because I cared. And I've seen so many nursing staff do that. And no, I can't remember what your questions were, because I have to be honest, I was half listening and writing my blog at the same time.
Don't you worry.
To smile at, because you know how difficult it is for me to listen and write.
I shall summarise, and Rasha's here, and then I've got something to play you right at the end. So today, people, we talked about every soul having a journey, the road to Damascus, because the privilege of any lifetime is to become who you truly are. But we're going to finish with Jew's words at the end of today. So I invited us on a journey that didn't need a passport, about moments that challenge everything that we thought we knew. Moments that asked us, who are you becoming? And I played an excerpt from Soul, who is of Bill, a colleague of mine who has soulwork.com. And on Saturday in Magical Manifestation, our community there, which is a magical and manifesting space, Soul was channeled. And whatever you believe about that, whether Soul of Tarsus, whose dramatic transformation on the road of Damascus is still inspiring you after these 2,000 years, or Soul Work, where my Bill friend shares the messages he believes comes through an entity called Soul. And on Facebook, it's not about believing in channeling or forcing you to believe anything or think anything. It's about being curious. Whether you channel it, see it, feel it as a spiritual experience or a higher consciousness or a psychological process or just simply, exploration. Look, there's 4 things to do when you are stopped for a moment, and Jew Goodwin's passing has stopped me for a moment, and I had to listen to what my soul was saying, to reflect on that and to question and then think, because Socrates reminded us that an unexamined life is not worth living. And before Saul became Paul, he was already intelligent and highly educated and passionate and certain and believed he knew everything and he was protecting the right thing. But he discovered that life had something much bigger to teach him. The flash of light, a voice in 3 days without sight, so that he could finally see inside. And when his sight returned, his identity had changed. It changed, his future. And I don't think transformation comes gently. It hardly ever sends us an email. It comes with disruption. like a diagnosis that Jew had, or a redundancy, or divorce. I've had 2, or an unexpected opportunity, the loss of someone we love, a conversation we weren't expecting, like when his brother rang me. Whoever it is you believe it is, the universe or life or Gaia or God or you, it has a remarkable way of interrupting us just enough to invite us to somewhere new. We know the hero's journey. You go somewhere you don't want to go, you go there, something terrible happens, awfully transforming, and then you get back up and you go home and tell the tale. Perhaps it's what we all do. Every act of forgiveness and every conversation, every apology, every moment we choose courage over comfort, every time we stop performing, every time we simply decide to be ourselves. Tesla spoke about ideas already arriving almost fully formed, and Jung, the collective unconsciousness, William James, the mystical experience. So whether they're from us or within us or of us, they're definitely worth doing as an open book. We should always keep questioning. If someone had shown me this chapter 30 years ago, I'd never have believed it. All roads lead back to Birmingham, by the way, when we're talking about a Jew going to Birmingham. I'd never have believed it, but I kept saying yes to growth, even if I was kicking and screaming. So these moments matter, whatever you call them. And we're going to be listening and reflecting together over the weeks to come to ask better sentences. So the message that comes happens at the right time for the right person in the right way. The 3 questions were, where am I resisting change? What belief about myself is ready to be transformed? And if I trusted my deepest wisdom, what would I do next? I'd like to hear from you. And I can, because of this magical manifestation of Clubhouse. So let's see if I can play it. Let's see if I can find it. Play it. I hope so. I can certainly play it on mine if I cannot play on this one. Come on, Jew. It's 8 o'clock. Here we go.
I think it underlines the fact that everything we need and will help us is out there and it's available. You've just got to look for it.
Well, Jew, on this day, before your funeral, and before we can see you off, thank you for joining us on Clubhouse, asynchronously from the other side. I think Jew has probably said the most important thing of the whole room. But everything's out there and in there that you ever wanted. You just got to search for it. That's what we did together. And that's what we keep doing together here. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry to be emotional. But I've lost somebody very dear to me. And selfishly, I wanted him to carry on being here. But I'm going to leave it there with you and play out on this. I love you all. Have a wonderful, beautiful, incredible week. This is not yet released, so you can't get it yet on Spotify.
I came in with my hands full of all I could not name. You met me in the doorway and called me by my shame. Still you sat beside my silence like you had all the time. And the floorboards held my shaking while the dark began to break. I felt my heart unclenching for the first time in a while. Hold me in grace, hold me in grace. When I cannot stand, you help me remain. Hold me in grace, hold me in grace. I was lost in my own. Now I know your name. You showed up with a quiet that felt like shelter rain. A cup of water, open hands, a shoulder for my weight. I watched the old fear loosen like dust from stained glass light. And every small forgiveness made a wider place in me. What I could not carry, you kept carrying. Hold me in grace, hold me in grace. When I cannot stand, you help me remain. Hold me in grace, hold me in grace. I was lost in my own. Now I know your name. If faith is just a candle, then you kept it burning low. If love is just a doorway, you were there to let me go. I am learning how to trust it, how to give and not to fear. What was broken isn't empty when your mercy lives here. Hold me in grace, hold me in grace. When I cannot stand, you help me remain. Hold me in grace, hold me in grace. I was lost in my own.